It's a great day because it's Lucy's birthday, my cousin who I love to death. This one is for you, Lucy. I'll sing to you at the end. But it's also a great day because we had a great question here at When Wellness, and that was, how do I maximize nutrient absorption in the gut, despite maybe having loose stools and inflammation in the gut and some bowel issues and things of that nature? Well, without talking about how to correct inflammatory bowel disease and irritable bowel syndrome and all these different types of conditions that can affect the gut and can affect inflammation and absorption of nutrients, I think it's best for us to just talk about how to generally improve nutrient absorption through the gut wall, okay? So for those of you who just want to get the gist out of the video, I'll give you guys the big things that you want to do, and then we'll get into a lot of the science and why it all makes sense at the end. All right, so one, you want to chew your food thoroughly. You want to chew the food thoroughly. It's going to help to break it down into smaller pieces. You can absorb it better, obviously, as it passes along the GI tract. But that's also going to stimulate the production of different enzymes, digestive enzymes, and stomach acid that'll help you to break that food down better, make it more easily absorbable. So that's one, chew your food for a decent amount of time, right? Don't eat too fast. Drink water, right? Water will definitely improve digestion. We all know that. So those are pretty common sense. So what do we have in terms of like food pairings, I think is pretty neat. Well, fats with, and not just any fats, talk about it in a second, healthy fats with vegetables is a nice pairing. And why is that? Because vegetables have a lot of fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, right? Namely. And so if we could have healthy fats with them, then we can improve the absorption of these fat-soluble vitamins. They're called fat-soluble because, right, it takes some fat to absorb them. They'll be stored in fat and this and that, right? Water-soluble vitamins are things like B vitamins and like vitamin C and all that other good stuff, right? But if you're going to have your vegetables, put some healthy fats with them. Things like extra virgin olive oil, fatty fish, like salmon and mackerel and tuna and herring and sardines and anchovies and trout, you know, all that good stuff. And nuts and seeds, of course, would be good. And avocado would be great, right, to pair with your vegetables to improve nutrient absorption. Okay, so we'll chew the food. We reiterate here, for those of you who just hopped on, we're going to have more water, okay, to improve the absorption of nutrients and digestion in general. We would like to pair healthy fats with our vegetables. That's why we're going to douse that salad in extra virgin olive oil, baby. It's full of antioxidants and healthy fats. Great stuff, right? Monounsaturated fats, great for your brain, great for your heart, great for a whole lot. Now, we could also pair pre and probiotics is a nice mix. So what are prebiotics? Well, prebiotics are things that have fiber that our body doesn't break down itself. The bacteria break down the fiber, and then they make things that help our body, in simple, right? And so if we could, they make short-chain fatty acids, right? Like butyrate, acetate, caproic acid, they help to control immune function, mood, appetite, fat storage, a lot of stuff, right? For just so we don't skip over that if you guys haven't heard us say that. But we have these things that have fiber. So fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, things of that nature. And we feed the gut bacteria that we find in fermented foods like kimchi, natto, miso, tempeh, sauerkraut, kombucha, sour milk, kefir, all that kind of good stuff, right? That has all those bacteria. We feed them. Look at something like an onion, for example. An onion has fructooligosaccharides and inulin, you know, things that are prebiotics that will feed the bacteria. Then they produce good stuff. So that's a good combination, prebiotics and probiotics. The next time you have some yogurt, maybe have some source of fiber in there too. Put some whole grains in it or something of that nature. Some berries, right, would be a nice combination. All right. Okay, so we're chewing the food. We are going to have our water. We're going to combine fats with our vegetables. We're going to combine pre and probiotics. An interesting combination that recently they found was very useful, at least, you know, a study came out, was avocado and red meat, right? So when you have red meat, if it's not top quality red meat, you don't really worry about this as much with good quality red meat. It's definitely not the devil. I love great quality red meat, like venison and elk, nice lean red meat. Again, saturated fat does not cause heart disease, but it's not the best thing for your body. So if we could limit it, that would absolutely be a good thing. But the avocado reduces any inflammation that it might cause. So anything that was even somewhat pro-inflammatory in some regard, and again, I'm not saying that red meat is, if it's good quality meat, it's not. An avocado will reduce the inflammation, and so that's great. It'll also improve blood flow, right? And so when they did this study, they showed that people that were having this red meat, and I'd have to look back exactly what the red meat was, I think it was like ground beef, I don't know the quality, it probably wasn't the best, but it promoted vasoconstriction, so the narrowing of blood vessels. And then when they had an avocado with it, it increased the vasodilation or opening of the blood vessels and delivered blood to the body better, right? So that's a good combination. Now, what is a simple thing that you can put on almost all your food that you cook that'll improve the absorption of a lot of vitamins and minerals? Black pepper. Black pepper contains piperine, and if you've seen supplements, you take pre-workout supplements, or if you're somebody that's taken curcumin, for example, it's always combined with piperine, right? There's piperine in a lot of these things, and in Super U, we use astragalus, that, combined with Panax notoginseng to reduce the inflammation in the gut and improve nutrient absorption, right? But piperine is really good at that too. And so if you put some black pepper on your food, it's going to give you a little spice, a little kick, and it's going to help you absorb the nutrients better. So that's definitely a good thing to do. And do not skip the peel. Don't skip the peel. When it comes to something like a lemon, the peel of the lemon has 50% more fiber than the whole lemon itself, than the flesh of the lemon, right? It has a lot more vitamins and minerals as well. So if you could just, maybe zest it into a salad, you could put the whole lemon, after you wash it, of course, into a smoothie or something of that nature. You get a lot more nutrition out of it. You get that fiber. You're feeding your healthy bacteria in your gut. It's a good thing. You're improving nutrient absorption by doing all these things, okay? Now, let's talk about how food moves through the GI tract. For those of you, that want to hear some of the science behind this and, why we're going to talk about optimizing liver health, why we're going to talk about reducing inflammation in itself as a whole when it comes to nutrient absorption, right? So we start chewing that food. So we're chewing that food, and we're already producing digestive enzymes. We're producing salivary amylase and lingual lipase, not unlike these sides of your mouth, right? But lingual will be sublingual glands, right? Related to the tongue. But lipase, fat, ACE, enzyme that breaks that down. Okay, so fat breakdown even starts very preliminarily in the mouth. Now, carbohydrate breakdown from the salivary amylase in our saliva also starts to break down these carbs, right? And so that begins with the chewing. And the longer you're chewing, the more you're helping that get broken down in your mouth. And this is not to say that protein is getting broken down in the mouth. That starts in the stomach, right? When it hits the stomach acid. But you're breaking these things down, you're chewing them into smaller bits. Okay, that's good. We take a long time to do that. Remember, that's what we want. It's going down the esophagus and it gets into the stomach. And when it gets into the stomach, right, you have these food contents that you've chewed up, combined with some fluid that you drank, hopefully a good amount of water, as aforementioned, which improves digestion. And you should get half your body weight in ounces in a day. If you guys were curious as to how much water in general you should be having, that's at a minimum, right? So it combines the food, the water, and digestive enzymes in the stomach acid. The pancreas will release some enzymes that aid in digestion. And after the proteins and the fats and the carbs are further broken down in the stomach, they pass through into the duodenum, through the pyloric sphincter, right? And so they go through the sphincter and they get into the duodenum, and this is the first part of the small intestine. And now bile comes into play, right? So bile is actually made by the liver and it's stored in the gallbladder, and then it's released into the small intestines, and it helps to break down this food further. When it's all put together, we call it chyme, right? So now we have this chyme, this little bolus of food that's all mushed up, we would hope at this point, and it's passing through. And most of the nutrient absorption actually happens in the next section of the small intestine. I believe it's the jejunum, I believe statistically, right? But it's in the small intestine. And so now we have these nutrients being absorbed through the intestinal wall through what are called microvilli. These villi, micro is really small, right? And these villi are little hair-like projections that are sticking out from the inside of that wall, right? So we got these little hairs here, and they're tiny little things, and the food, whether it's fat or protein or carbs, then interacts with them. They suck it up, if you will. They absorb it. And they have blood vessels, right, that take this nutrition, tiny little blood vessels that turn into larger blood vessels, and they pass it through the blood, turns into, say, the hepatic portal vein, for example, eventually, and it goes, hepatic is liver, right, and it goes to the liver. Now the liver is going to filter this blood out. The liver is going to filter this out. It's going to say, all right, we're going to send this over here, we're going to send this over there, we're going to, get some nutrients over here, and so on, right? So we would definitely want the liver to be functioning well. And that's why we're going to talk about that here in a second. just to maximize nutrient absorption in general, right? Because if you can absorb it all, but the liver isn't working really well, well then where's it all going to go? Maybe it's not going to get filtered quite properly, right? And so that's an issue, aside from just looking at the gut in itself. And so we continue to pass through the GI tract, and we get into the large intestine, aka the colon here, and we have the absorption of fluid majorly, right? So now we're absorbing pretty much all that water, right? And some will start in the small intestine, but we're absorbing the majority of water here to make a nice hard stool, right? So we're making the feces now, and then we're obviously going to excrete that through the anus. We absorb some electrolytes here, and we absorb some earlier in this path as well. Okay, so what do we want to do to make sure that these villi are functioning well? These little hairs we were talking about in the small intestine to absorb these nutrients. And what do we want to do to make sure that just in general this food is passing through, right? And you know, it's all getting sucked into our bloodstream and then passed in pure form, pure as it could be, from liver filtration to the rest of the body. Well, again, we want to reduce inflammation and optimize liver function. So how do we do that, right? So when it comes to reducing inflammation, exercise is a huge anti-inflammatory. Being less stressed, getting more sleep, definitely avoiding processed foods, added sugars, refined flours, artificial sweeteners or dyes, anything of that nature. You would like whole food from nature, of course, and you know, more specifically things like berries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, avocado, extra virgin olive oil, fatty fish like salmon and mackerel and tuna and herring we talked about before, and nuts and seeds and whole grains. All this kind of stuff will help to reduce inflammation and really just, you know, avoid stress. Of course, you want to avoid alcohol, and this is also for liver health. You know, and these all go hand in hand with liver health, okay, as well. So movement, more sleep, less stress, eating whole food from nature, a lot of fruits and vegetables, okay, especially vegetables. You know, they've shown plant-based diet could reduce inflammation very significantly relative to other types of diets, but that doesn't mean you want to just totally skip meat. Meat is full of a lot of great nutrition, you know, things like iron, that's heme iron at least. You're like, there's iron in plants, there's heme iron in animal foods. You absorb that better than non-heme iron, right? So that's why they're not equal. It has complete protein, animal food, right? Good animal food, meat, and, you know, or eggs, for example, things of that nature. And that has all of the building blocks of protein that our bodies need to make proteins, right? All the essential amino acids. They're called essentials. We need to get them from the diet. As we say here at Win Wellness all the time, plant-based foods don't have that, right? As good as they are for reducing inflammation, they may also lack B12, you know, omega-3s and vitamin D, carnitine and creatine and beta-alanine and all these other things, right? So it's not good to be to either end, carnivore or plant-based, but do know in terms of reducing inflammation, plant-based is probably generally superior, with one major exception, and that would be fatty fish. You know, fatty fish are just fantastic anti-inflammatory, all right? So we have that, and what's up? Hey, I love it, man. I'll chat in a second. You're a beast, Ben. So, you know, we want to have all this whole food. We want to focus on some plant-based stuff, but lean meat also will reduce inflammation as well. Lean meat's also great for liver health. Not processed, grass-finished, you know, pasture-raised, all the good stuff. Right now, what are some interesting things in particular that might be good for liver health? You know, aside from not drinking, right? Of course, and all this exercise and sleep and less stress stuff, all that kind of crap, right? No pun intended at all. Extra virgin olive oil, definitely. Avocado. Vitamin E. We did a whole video on vitamin E for liver health. It's phenomenal. Toro urso deoxycholic acid, TUDCA, is also good, but that's only if you have a specific bile condition. It's like primary biliary cholangitis, I believe. So, you know, it could be good. You talk to your doctor before you take anything like that. But nuts and coffee, interestingly, are good for your liver. So, you know, if you guys are late, the gist of it was chew your food thoroughly, drink a lot of water, know what foods to pair with other foods, and exercise, and get more sleep, and be less stressed, and just be natural, and be healthy, and avoid processed garbage, and don't drink, and don't poison your body, and definitely don't smoke. We didn't mention that, but, you know, I think that goes without saying. That's what we got for you guys, for maximizing nutrient absorption. I hope that was helpful. I hope I answered your question. I did, you know, the best I could. It's a pretty broad scope. All right. Happy birthday, Lucy! This one's for you, baby. Happy birthday to you. Gotta bring out the grandmama on me right now. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lucy. Happy birthday to you. So many more, baby. Hope you had a great day. What's up, Ma? Josh, how you doing? Yeah, yes, sir. Super U. Actually, if someone scans this code, they get a discount. Super U. It's really small. Came out. We would work on editing clothes, making them, you know. I didn't want it to be overbearing. I thought it'd be in the bottom corner, but it came up here. It just looks stupid. Was it? What's up? That's right. That's right. You're damn right. 100%, dude. Ben, you're preaching to the choir. Junior, thank you. I appreciate that. That 303 guy, Dura, Paulie. How you doing, brother? Moombo. All right. Appreciate the love, man. Yeah, it's really neat, right? Meg, what's up, baby? Another Meg. Back-to-back Megs. First time. Bop, 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 bop. You guys get a double wave. Back-to-back. Lewis, how you doing? Ash, what's up, baby? Wanna be bear. Ash, I gotta see you soon. They be some knees. What's up, brother? Super you, dude. What's up, Avramaj? Appreciate you, Joseph. Joshy Joe, what's up, man? You make me laugh all the time, and I appreciate that. Mountain Mover. As for now, so we got for you, folks. We'll see you tomorrow, baby. Not sure where, not sure when, but we'll see you then. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you very much. Go maximize that nutrient absorption in your gut, and happy Wen Wellness. See ya.